Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Workforce Development Information Session. We're going to give everybody a little bit of time to join. I see we have about 47 people, and I want to tell you we had over 400 people sign up for the program today. So we can tell there's lots of interest in our workforce development programs, and I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to join since I just opened it up, and we'll get started shortly. Okay, everyone, we are about 2 minutes in. There's about 70 people who've joined the session. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We want to make sure we are respectful of everyone's time today. I want to welcome you all again to the very first Workforce Development Information Session. I am Annette Beekler. I'm going to be your host today. I'm a Senior Workforce Development Consultant at Ochsner. We have with us to help me manage some of the questions this afternoon our AVP of Workforce Development and Career Services, Susan Salomon, Renee Rochelle, and Richie Lewis, my fellow Workforce Development consultants who are here to man that Q&A section today. So if you were invited to this webinar, you received that invitation because you've shown an interest in workforce development programs at Ochsner. The purpose of today's session is to provide you with information on how we determine what programs to launch, what happens once a program is launched, how often you can expect to see new programs, who our partners are for each program, what is expected of those who are accepted into a program, and we're going to share some timelines for upcoming programs. So we have a lot of information to cover today. We're hoping that after today, you become more familiar with our processes and the eligibility requirements for each program that Workforce Development offers. We want to help you prepare for future programs when they are announced. So we're going to do a little bit of that today too. So how's this going to go? First, we're going to go through the entire presentation. Then we're going to take a look at the Q&A. So I'm going to encourage you now to begin putting your questions. If you have questions, put your questions into the Q&A as you think of them. Renee, Richie, and Susan will be manning those questions. And when we're done, we'll get a summary of all the questions because we do believe that many of you will have some of the same questions, and we'll try to answer those live instead of just putting the answers in the Q&A and keeping on with the program. So we're going to get started by telling you just a little bit about workforce development at Ochsner. So workforce development is part of the larger HR team, Talent and Learning. On the talent side of that team, there are many programs designed to attract and develop individuals from outside Ochsner, as well as programs designed to grow people who are already at Ochsner. So we do attract, retain, get you in, and then help you grow that career. We call this our outside in, inside up talent management. Today, we're going to focus on workforce development programs that we offer. As you can see from the slide, we offer internships, we offer fellowships through talent management. Today, we're just going to talk about the workforce development piece. There's also the Ochsner Career Center, Ochsner Scholars, and Momentum programs. So our talent and learning team is really busy offering lots of different programs to help attract people in and then help them build those careers. So there are many different ways to define workforce development. In different industries, there are different definitions of workforce development. At Ochsner, our team focuses on people who are getting started in their healthcare career journey, whether they're in high school, just out of high school, or they've been working for a while. Programs include customized trainings, which may be as short as a few months or even a few weeks, as well as academic degrees that can take up to 2 years to earn. Many programs are earn as you learn, which allows people to maintain their financial stability while still in school. By providing these opportunities to individuals who may not be able to complete them, Ochsner is helping to diversify the healthcare workforce. A diverse healthcare workforce helps to improve health outcomes and ultimately has a positive impact on our communities in the state. And Ochsner is very focused on building a healthier state. So it takes many people to have that kind of an impact. Our team was actually formed in 2018, and today we have a small but mighty team. So here are our photos. You get to see a little bit more of what we look like. The workforce development team provides education, training, and works with talent acquisition to place people in both internal and external positions. We're led by Susan Salomon. And then, as I said earlier, there's Renee, Richie, and myself in our workforce development team. Renee is in the Shreveport area. I'm in Lafayette, and Richie's in Mississippi. And we work across the entire Ochsner footprint. But Workforce in Ochsner doesn't really start with just us. It actually starts with our high school pre-apprenticeships, led by Quentin Bradley and Edwina Odom. The high school pre-apprenticeship team manages our nursing pre-apprenticeships program, as well as internships from high school and college, for high school and college students. Training programs focus mostly on clinical career pathways, but we also provide some non-clinical training and to help individuals grow their skills. I'll show you on the next slide a list of the current programs that we run, as well as programs that are being vetted. So what do I mean by that? You can see a list of our existing programs that are underway in different regions around the system right now. We expect to be running many of these programs this year. So we've started a needs assessment process to ensure programs we run will address the significant staffing gaps that we face. And we are, as you can see on the bottom, we are exploring or developing programs for new areas of need. One example would be our respiratory therapy program. We have 2 people in it in the Lafayette region. It's the first of its kind, and we're trying to make sure that it's actually a good fit. So there are a wide variety of programs that we run. They're not all available every year in every region, and the need is great. We don't have a cohort program. If we don't have a cohort program running, then we turn to our Amplify program. This program will help people amplify their impact while amplifying their careers. So what is it really? Ochsner Amplify is a partnership between the Career Center and Workforce Development to help Ochsner employees continue their career learning journey when we don't have a workforce development training program available. With Amplify, we can provide you individual coaching and talk to you about your educational pathway. Why did we do Amplify? Well, the need is great for the program. As of today, an example being, as of today, we had over 2,000 unique individuals who filled out that very same interest form that you did for an interest in a workforce development program. And we are only able to offer a limited number of program slots. So we asked ourselves the question, how can we help walk alongside Ochsner employees in their educational journey? And Amplify is one solution to help with that need. How does it work? Employees fill out a program interest form on the Amplify site. Now, that Amplify site can be found on the Workforce Development site. Participants then receive information regarding different programs and links, as well as a framework to help them with decision-making and what to expect when going back to school as an adult learner. Participants schedule coaching sessions with career coaches to help them navigate the next steps in their journey. Programs can include LPN programs, MA programs, farm tech programs. So what does a workforce development program look like from beginning to end? So going back to that workforce development program, here's a little bit of a roadmap and our process to get you into one of those programs. Step 1, interested individuals are encouraged to attend a talent talk. A talent talk is very similar to this information session, but it provides a lot of details on that specific program. Remember, we told you programs are different in different regions, depending on the training provider, depending on how many people we're taking in. There are a lot of nuances that make one program not like the other one. So if you've seen one talent talk for one program, then you've seen one talent talk for one program. And each one will have a little different information depending on where it's happening and who the different training providers are. Excuse me just a second. Okay, step 2. After the talent talk, the program rec or application, you'll hear us talk about a rec, that's an application, is open and the candidates have a brief timeline to apply. Timelines are brief because we usually are trying to pull everything together at the same time. There's a lot of interest, and we can get in 1 to 2 days, we can get 50 to 60 applicants. So a typical opening for an application or rec is about 1 to 2 weeks. Applicants are in step 3, applicants are then pre-screened for program fit by our talent acquisition recruiter. Selected applicants will move forward if they meet eligibility requirements and they do a Q&A with the TA recruiter. Those selected will move forward with an interview with the department leaders. If this is an Earn as You Learn program, you do have to meet the standards. You do have to meet with the department leader, and that department leader will have the last say so on who gets hired into that position. Let's see. Step 4, you get an offer, right? So top applicants will receive a program offer. Program offer is also a job offer, right? That's your offer into your apprenticeship position or trainee position or whatever that job title might be. Step 5, you begin your didactic or training program. This is the program duration will vary based on the program curriculum and requirements. Step 6, you complete all of the program requirements, and then you receive your role license or certification. You sit, for example, you sit for the NCLEX and you pass it. And so then you get promoted into that LPN position, or you pass your certification and get promoted into your MA position. That's what we call the journeyman role. You've completed the training program and now you're moving on to your journeyman role. I do want to note one thing about the process. In some cases, a participant signs a commitment agreement early on to remain in the department that hires them within Ochsner. At the start of that program is when the signing happens. The timeline for that commitment back to Ochsner does not start until after you've received your certification or your licensure. So the time in between signing the commitment and going and getting that licensure is while you're doing your training. And while you're doing your training, it's just really important that you be engaged, you're ready to learn every day. And when you're in your department that's hiring you for that position, you need to make sure that you are showing that department leader that you can be a good team player. You want that department leader to say, I want to hire that person and I want that person on my team. So as you can see through these different steps, it's not all workforce development. We have lots of different partners involved when we're working on and with a workforce development program. A common misconception is that workforce development runs these programs single-handedly. Not true. As you can see from this slide, it takes a village, right? And we're not Ochsner University. We don't make the curriculum up or the programs up on our own. We depend on lots of help to get these programs done. We start working with our human resource business partners. They help us to identify the business need for the regions. We work with the department leaders and talent acquisitions to determine candidate assignments. We also partner with talent acquisition for candidate applications and screening and the selection process. The training providers, as I said earlier, actually develop the program curriculum that aligns with industry requirements. We work with our marketing communications team to help us get the word out about our programs, to help us make sure that it looks good and it's all correct, and the information is shared across and inside and outside of Ochsner. We also spend some time with our system nursing professional development team. We want to make sure our education leaders at Ochsner are aware of the programs and know how to help us and assist us when we have some challenges. We work with our legal team for contracts. That commitment agreement that we talked about, that's a contract between you and Ochsner, that if Ochsner supports your ability to go through a training program, that you're going to commit or invest back in Ochsner. We work with philanthropy. As I said, we look at different funding sources. Compensation helps us set the wage. And sometimes we do involve employee relations when things are getting a little rocky and we need to just consult with someone who's struggling through a program. So how do we determine what programs we're going to launch? I mentioned in an earlier slide that we started a needs assessment process to ensure that programs we run will address the significant staffing gaps that we face. To start a program, we use that assessment to look at future shortages in specific disciplines. We look at changes in the healthcare environment, and we also look at different models of care or changes in models of care. One example of changes in the healthcare environment dictating a new program would be respiratory care. With the onset of COVID, there was definitely a shortage of respiratory therapists, and there was a great need. That need continues today, and so we're looking into how we build a program based on that healthcare environment need. Funding plays a huge role. We do work with multiple funding partners. We look to get assistance and funding from them because we can't fund it all just through Ochsner, and we must always ensure that we're following the guidelines of the funding partner. Capacity of the education partner. We ask questions like, is there enough space for them to provide additional slots for Ochsner? Because, you know, we'll have an HRBP come to us and say, I need 20 more of these people. And so we have to go to the training provider and say, can you hold one more class? And it's, do we have the space? Do we have the faculty? Can we work together to see how we can meet those demands? Our departments are also the support team for this. We look to them because we need slots. We need places for people to go and learn and have the appropriate training providers there at the hospital for when they're doing their on-the-job training. And we also depend on them because they're going to pay a salary out of their cost center to the participants who are in the program. So you'll hear me say several times that we're investing in our participants, and the department leaders are putting in a great investment in those participants because they really want to enhance their team. So a little bit about what programs we're doing in 2024. As of today, there are going to be 14 new programs. And I say as of today because things do come up and we do hear from our leaders on occasion and say, wait a minute, we do need this new program. So you can see from this list, there are 14 new programs on the calendar for 2024. 2 of them have already been launched, which means the applications or requisitions are closed and they've already started. We talked earlier about exploring new programs. While we've been running a program for surgical tech on the South Shore for a few years now, the program in North Louisiana is the first of its kind there. So they are testing a new program and trying to develop it in a way that fits them. Reminder again, not all programs in all regions work the same way. We depend on our training partners and leaders to help us customize each to suit the needs and resources of the region. For example, you see on this board, there are 2 different types of practical nursing programs. We have a traditional program, and then we have an MA to LPN program. The traditional program meets the calendar of those schools. We followed those exactly like the school puts the map in place. For our MA to LPN programs, you've got to be a certified MA to get into that program. And we work directly with the school to put together an accelerated program, which means it's a shorter time frame than that traditional program. I do want to address the different acronyms on this chart. You see CNA, which is Certified Nurse Assistant, CCMA, Certified Clinical Medical Assistant, EAYL right there means Earn As You Learn. Something else you might not recognize is there's a MedCert, which and IOHS. IOHS is the Institute of Health Sciences. Those are some online training providers that we work with. And most of the NTCC and DCC, those are our community colleges in the region. So when you're looking at what prerequisites you might need and you see MA to LPN on the North Shore in partnership with NTCC, take a look at NTCC, North Shore Technical College's website, see what the prerequisites are for their MA to LPN program, and start there with what you might need to do to prepare yourself for a new program. We also wanted to give you a little bit of information today. You've heard me talk about apprenticeships versus Earn As You Learn versus customized training. We wanted to give you a little bit of a breakdown of what the differences are with those. So with apprenticeships, there are some costs. So I'll tell you, with all programs, the tuition is paid. That's the one common denominator in all of these. In apprenticeships, the tuition is paid. There is minimal cost to the students. And when I say minimal cost, you might have to pay for your own scrubs, and you may have to pay and you'll have to pay for your licensing test, right? That's something that you'll have to do on your own going forward anyway. And so in those cases, you'd have to pay for your own. They do require a commitment agreement, and that is a commitment agreement that's signed prior to the start of the program. Again, Ochsner is investing in our participants, and so there's an expectation that there's an investment back. And I'll explain to you in a minute how that timeline is determined. Training for apprentices does include on-the-job training in departments who support those departments who will be the ones that you hope will support your future employment. When you interview with the department leaders, they're going to be the ones providing you your on-the-job training, and you'll get most of your full-time salary from their department. Apprenticeships are as short as 8 months for sterile processing or MA, and they can be as long as 24 months for surge tech and respiratory therapy. Depends on the training partner. Compensation, the pay piece here, compensation provides a set wage progression to us. It is determined by the market or pay for the region. Those who are in apprenticeships that are, say, 12 months will get a bump in 6 months, and then another increase in pay at the 12-month or completion period, depending on exactly when that completion is. Apprentices are full-time positions, and you're again hired on that apprentice job profile. So an example, surge tech would be a surgical tech apprentice. So what's the difference between Earn As You Learn and an apprenticeship? So you can see there are many similarities between the two. Tuition and commitment agreements are both part of Earn As You Learn. Right now, the Earn As You Learn program that we have going is our CNA to PCT, CNA with PCT. So you're getting training for both. There's not a wage progression for this. It's when you get hired, you get a certain pay, and because the length of the program is only 5 to 8 weeks, upon completion, you get an increase in pay for your promotion. So you were hired under a PCA or patient care assistant job role, and that is your job title while you're in that didactic training portion. Once you complete and you've met all the requirements, you can be promoted into that PCT role. Customized training, again, a little different. Tuition is paid, but this is not a position at Ochsner. We are only providing you with the training. You do get to do your clinicals because there are clinicals involved at an Ochsner facility. There's no commitment agreement required. Participants do get their clinical rotations, and the programs are a little bit longer than Earn As You Learn. You can see they're 6 to 9 months. An example would be an MA program. In some cases, those are not apprenticeships. Those are just a customized training program. However, you do, Upon successful completion of your program, participants are guaranteed an interview or placement at an Ochsner facility. Okay. So we have covered a lot of information, I know, because I need to take a sip of something where I'm going to cough. Thank you for your patience. I hope you've learned a lot so far. And let's see, Q&A. I only see 3 questions in the Q&A right now. Okay, so I'm going to go over a few questions that you may not have thought of, that we were trying to predict some of the questions you might have after you hear the presentation. I do want to remind you that our goal today is not to provide details for each individual program, but to provide you with an overview of the who, what, when, where, why, and how of how workforce programs are run and developed. So the slides will be shared with you after today for those who've joined. And then we've added some reference slides with detail on some of these programs as well. So you'll get a few extra slides that you didn't see in the program today. So questions we thought you might ask. What can I do to prepare for a workforce development program? We talked about Amplify. Please make sure you sign up for Ochsner Amplify. This is the best way to get yourself started. Review the eligibility requirements for the programs that you're interested in at your local community college. If you want to be part of the practical nursing program at Delgado, take a look at what the prerequisites are for it and begin taking those so that you can be ready when we launch a program. So start completing the prerequisites for your programs. Another eligibility requirement for for a nursing program might be taking the Accuplacer or the Kaplan test or something. So make sure you have those done. But you'll find that out. You'll get that information from the website of your local community college. How do I apply for an apprenticeship or customized training program? Visit the workforce development site regularly to see when new program postings happen. When you see that link, make sure that you put in your application. As I said earlier, application periods are usually very short. They're 1 to 2 weeks. So make sure when you see it, fill out your application. When a new program is announced, register for and attend the talent talk. That's where you're going to get your detail. That's where you're going to get your best information about how a program is going to be run and what you're getting yourself into when you apply for a program. Complete the job application using the link provided in the talent talk. We always provide that link in the talent talk. That's where you'll get that information. Complete the application for the program at your community college, university, or whoever the training provider is, if required. When will I know if I'm accepted? Once an application is closed, the recruiter will email or call you if you meet the eligibility requirements. There's another step. You do have to go through that initial screening, and then maybe you have to interview with one of the department leaders. Once all of that is done, we do go back to the department leaders and say, who would you be willing to take into your department if that's part of the program? And so once everybody has met all of those requirements, once all the interviews are done, that process usually takes us 2 to 3 weeks. It depends on how many candidates we're trying to get. So how's the pay determined for Earn While You Learn and apprenticeships? The pay is determined by the regional market wage rate for the position that you're entering into. They're all a little different. So there's not one answer whenever you ask how much is it going to be or how much do you get? How long is the commitment? Okay, so let's talk about the commitment itself. Commitment period is determined by the length of the program and whether or not it is an Earn As You Learn program. So programs where you're paid during the training portion will have a longer commitment period. Generally, you commit to work 6 months for each semester of the training or education program that Ochsner pays for. If you're paid to go to class, you will commit an additional 6 months. So here's an example of how that breaks down. A traditional practical nursing program is 4 semesters, and we pay you while you're in the program, so it is an Earn As You Learn program. 4 semesters of education equals a 24-month commitment back to Ochsner after you've achieved your licensure. Because it's Earn As You Learn, we tack on another 6 months to that commitment. So the total commitment after promotion to the LPN position would be 30 months or 2.5 years. What happens if I fail or drop out of the program? You'll be expected to repay the investment that Ochsner has made in your training or in your training and education. The amount you would need to repay will depend on how much Ochsner has invested in your training or education at the time you leave the program. If you entered the nursing program and you went one semester, and that semester was $3,000, and you don't come back after that semester, either you drop out or you didn't, or you weren't able to be successful, then your monetary payback to Ochsner would be that $3,000. And there are different ways in which that can be done, and that's individual by individual. Where will I work when I complete my training? In most instances, you will continue to work in the department that supported your salary while in the program. If that department does not have an appropriate position open at the time you are ready for promotion, our HR team will work with you to find another position. We just had that happen recently. We had a practical nurse. The department didn't have a position, but we were successful in finding her a new place. Okay, now let's turn to the questions. I see we've got a few more in that Q&A. I'm going to ask my team if they can come off mute, and we can go through some of these questions live. Are any of them similar? I'm going to start with Renee.
And so at the very start of your presentation, we did have a couple questions around the availability of this PowerPoint deck and the recording, if you wanted to touch on that.
Yeah. I will be sending, because we're collecting your names and email addresses of everybody who was on the presentation today, and I will make sure that you do receive a copy of the deck. We are working to get the presentation, since it is being recorded, we're going to work to get the presentation on our website, and we're going to let you know how you can access that when we send out the PowerPoint. Anything else? Richie or Susan?
Yeah, Annette, one question I've been seeing is maybe you can touch on what's the best way for folks who are interested in these programs. How can we learn or know about when a talent talk may be coming for a program in their region or their area?
So there are a couple different things that we do, similar to what we did for today's presentation. For today's presentation, I went to that where you all have filled out the interest form from our website. We go back to those who have filled it out. We look at where their interests are, and we make them aware that there's going to be a new program. We ask that you, since you will have the deck, you can see when our estimated time for launch for the different programs will be. We ask that you go back to the website to take a look at it, to see when we launched a new program, and the application will be there. Those of you who are Ochsner employees, you should look for newsletters that come to your region. We work with our marketing communications internally to make sure that they know when new programs are happening, so that they can get the word out. If you have people that you know, if you're an external candidate and you have people that you know who work at Ochsner, they'll usually know from the newsletter. But also visit our external website, because that very same information that I shared with you will be shared on the external website, and where the rec is and when the talent talk is going to be. But again, if you filled out the interest form, we do go there first and make sure that those who filled out the interest form know that we're about to launch a new program. Does anybody want to add to that? Susan, Richie, Renee?
I don't have anything to add. I do think, Annette, there's a great question. There's a lot of great questions in the chat, and we'll continue answering those as we can. But I think there's a good question, and you referenced it a little bit, but someone asked, what should I do to be a great candidate for the program or for programs? And I think you talked a little bit about prerequisites, but if you could say more about that, and then just in general, what Oxner is looking for in people that we would like to have come work for us and be part of our team. I think that'd be great help for the folks on the call.
Okay. Yeah, so Ochsner is looking for people who are a good fit, which means a good fit for the culture at Ochsner. So I suggest, if you want to be a great candidate, take a look at Ochsner's website, see what Ochsner is all about, and make sure that this is where you want to work and where you want to be. But other ways that you can prepare for that is taking a look at the website of the training provider that we reference when we're going to work with one, and see what their eligibility requirements are. Do your very best to not just meet the eligibility requirements, but excel at those. When you apply for a program, the talent acquisition recruiter is going to either call you or email you. I think one thing I didn't say enough, make sure that whatever you put in your application for a contact, email or phone, that they are valid and you check them often and you respond quickly. You want to respond quickly. You want to make sure that we know just how eager you are and how much you want to have this job, right? Once you get that interview, when you go talk to that department manager, you want that department manager to understand that this is a program that you're excited about because it's something you've always wanted to do. And people who come to us because they have a passion for it and have a story to tell about why really do make good, exciting candidates to be partners at Ochsner. So just make sure that you're coming engaged, you're coming ready to learn, and you make sure that you're convincing that this is really something that you want to do. And in order to do that, you need to do a little research on the position, take a look at what the requirements are, be ready to ask some questions. When you do an interview with the department leader, have some questions in your back pocket. Show them that you've done your research and show them that this is something you're really interested in and something you really want to do. I think that's about the most I can give you at that. But I also want to say, and I want to keep reminding you that if you do get into one of these slots and you do get a chance to be in one of the apprenticeship positions, you make sure you consider that an interview for the whole process. And you want to stay, everything you said in that interview, you want to make sure that you are executing that and showing that every day that you're in the training program. Anything else?
I think, Annette, the other thing I'm seeing is a lot of questions about RN programs. We piloted a practical nurse to registered nurse program. I think it might have started in 2021, but Richie can jump in and correct me because I probably have that wrong. But we piloted it, and we're stepping back to examine that and see, is that a program we want to continue? And then I think there were questions about it in Baton Rouge and the South Shore in the New Orleans region. Again, we're looking at that program to see if it's something that we would want to continue doing. So right now we don't have plans to do another one, but that doesn't mean that that wouldn't change. So I just want to address that because people are asking about RN programs. The other thing I would recommend is there's a question I think around someone's in a program already, and so they're asking, I think what the question is will these programs benefit me? And the answer to that is probably not, because we're taking people who aren't yet in school. But what I would strongly encourage you to do, and maybe someone can help me drop the link in the chat, we do have an Ochsner Nurse Scholars Program. So if you're in a program for nursing and you'd like to apply to become an Ochsner Nurse Scholar, that program provides financial assistance to you to go to nursing school. And then similar to these programs, there is a commitment that you have to come serve at Ochsner when you finish your program, but it does provide you some financial assistance. So if you're already in school for something, especially nursing, that could be a good fit. And then we're going to pilot with Allied Health Surge Tech, Med Lab Tech, and Rad Tech for the fall of this year at Delgado. So applications for the next cohort of the nurse scholars will open May 15th, and they'll be open for about a month. But similar to what Annette was just talking about with, you know, how to be a great candidate, we really look for people who are going to fit the Oxnard culture, because it is important to us. You do have a commitment to come work with us when you finish your program. So we want to make sure that you're going to be a good fit, that you're going to work well with your team, you're going to, you know, be great with our patients. And so there is an interview process for the Oxnard Nurse Scholars Program too.
Thank you, Susan. I see that there are a lot of questions about specific programs, and I see that my teammates who work in those programs are answering those. So thank you guys, Richie, Renee, for answering the questions about specific programs. I want to go back to something Susan said. If you saw in that one list where we had programs that we're exploring, RN was on that list for exploratory, not for one that we're running right now. For the same reason Susan talked about a while ago, we want to, just like we want to make sure you're a good cultural fit for Oshner, we want to make sure that these programs are a good fit for us and that they work for, they're the programs that are in most need, and they're the programs that will work best for how our organization works. Does anybody else have a question that they see that we need to answer live today? I see 67 questions have been answered, so thank you all for your questions. Susan's answering radiology right now.
And it just, I think we're just, like you mentioned, we're getting a lot of programs specific to regions, and also how can they find out about them. So I'm just directing everyone, like you've already established, to keep or stay connected to the SharePoint page, complete the program interest survey, and the external web page. Just kind of reiterating, those are the best ways to stay connected.
Yup. And one more way is a way that many of you have probably connected with us in the past. So that is our workforce@oshner.org email, right? And so you want to make sure that you email us when you have questions. Susan?
Yeah, sorry. Someone asked about the partnership programs, and I can provide a little bit more about that. I think it's related to internships that we offer. So we do, Oxnard does have a small internship program that we offer in the summer for college students. We just closed the application process for that. It's called Catalyst, and we'll be hiring, I think, 20 young people for that program. But we do have in New Orleans, the mayor's office has a Mayor Youth Summer Employment Program, also called MISEP, where they're going to hire both high school and college students to work. So they'll be employed by the city of New Orleans, but they'll work at different businesses around the city, including at Oxnard. I think we had 10 young people last summer work for us, and the young people would work between 6 and 8 weeks, depending on if you're high school or college. And then we've talked to Acadiana Workforce Solutions, which is the Acadiana Workforce Development Board, about doing a similar program. We weren't able to get it off the ground last summer, but that could be another option. We haven't had other like local organizations reach out to us about partnerships, but we're open to those conversations. It's just, you know, to be very honest, getting close at this point to whether we'd be able to launch something for the summer if we were going to add an internship program. So, but that is, you know, we do partner with outside organizations. Like I said, they pay the individuals, so they're employed by those other organizations, and then Oxnard provides like an internship slot for them. They work with our leaders and are here in the Oxnard facilities every day. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Do y'all see any other questions that, other than those that are about specific programs, that seem to be common? Do I have to be in school? I see is one of the questions, and it depends on the program that we're running. If it's a surge tech program or a practical nursing program, these are programs that are run by our university or community college partners. So yes, you do have to be eligible to get into their program, and you've got to apply for their program and take those college courses. So it depends on what program that you're interested in and who the training provider is. So I think I said earlier, you know, when you've seen one program, you've only seen one. We have different ways to approach this, and we've worked really hard to find as many ways as possible to make these programs possible for our participants. Okay, guys, this was a lot of information. I want to really thank you for your time. If you have questions after today, please email us, workforce@ochsner.org. Let us know what additional questions you might have. I'm going to turn to my team here and see if there's anything else that we need to mention today before we close out.
The only thing I would add, maybe when we send out the information, Annette, is to make sure we provide links. So someone said they're not able to get to the workforce page, and it should be just oxner.org/workforce. And then I think oxner.org/scholars or nurse scholars. We'd have to double check that, but we can include the links to some of these sites that we've referenced, just so y'all will have those too.
Absolutely. I will add a slide with useful links and probably put it in the email as well, so they can get to it either way. Okay. So with that, thanks everybody for joining us today. This was really, really a good meeting. If your question did not get answered or you have additional questions, please email us. The four of us, Renee, Richie, Susan, and myself, we all man the email box and take turns at it. If we don't get to you that day, we'll get to you within the week, and make sure your questions get answered. Please, I will send the link out for our webpage, internal and external. Please be looking at those sites for information about new programs. Attend the talent talk if there's a program that you're interested in. And you know, we hope to, I see Susan's answering a question right now. There are a few questions being answered, so I'm gonna give everybody a little bit of time to do that. If we were to get accepted to a program, will we be able to have an additional job, or is it just class and clinicals based on the time frame of 9 to 5? I see that question. I'm going to answer that one real quick. I see Renee's answering it and typing it, but I imagine that's a question that most people have. Yes, it's not necessarily a 9 to 5 job. It is a full-time job, anywhere from 36 to 40 hours. Your job is to go to class and to go to your clinicals. If you want to have a part-time job or a second job after that, you know, that's up to you and what you think you can do. We don't encourage it. We do pay you a salary while you go to class, and pay your salary while you're in clinicals, depending on the program. And if it's a full-time position, we really, really, really want you to be totally engaged in what's going on. We do this because a lot of these programs are very, very involved, and they require your full attention. We try to do this so that you don't have additional expenses and so that you don't have to take a part-time job. This is why we pay your tuition and pay your salary. But certainly your needs are your needs. And if you have to, then, you know, again, it's not encouraged, and we expect that an apprenticeship that we offer you not just a full-time position. I don't think I mentioned it, but you also get full-time benefits from Ochsner, just like any other employee does. You are an employee of Ochsner whenever you join one of those programs, and you get the benefits that other employees get. So we hope that that is your primary focus when you join one of those programs. All right, thank you. I think all the questions have been answered, and I'm really happy to share this with you today. We look forward to the next session. Look for these quarterly. When you go to the website, we'll probably announce when the next one's going to be. Thanks for joining us, and have a good rest of your day. Bye, everybody.